You go.
No,
No, you go.
we're live.
Oh, we're live. This is real. This is real life.
Right.
Hey guys, I'm Mike McGoldrick with MobilityKits.com. This is week 1 of the call-out challenge where I'm going to post a picture of some horrendous form. You're going to tag a friend or someone you think that might be able to benefit for some tips on how to fix that terrible form. So this week we're focusing on the front squat, right? I posted a picture of someone with the typical shoulders rounded forward, T-spine bent, and straight up and down perpendicular shins. So a couple of things that came to mind is when you look at something like that, it's not always easy to tell where exactly the restriction is. Could be a bunch of things. Could be hips, ankles, shoulders. So rather than showing you step by step each and every single one of those fixes, I'm going to give you 3 popular ones and we're going to go from there. So first thing, always before we work on any mobility, always check the motor control, right? So simply ask the person if they can get their elbows up or if they could turn their knees out and, you know, get down into that deep squat a little bit better. Sometimes simply asking them to straighten their their upper back might work, rather than forcing them there when they may not necessarily have a mobility restriction. Could just be laziness or, that's their default position from sitting all day. Some people may be too tight to actually extend their T-spine. So simply ask first, see if it's a motor control problem. Then worry about the mobility restriction. So assuming that it is a mobility restriction, number one thing I want you to work on first is your ankles, okay? So a couple of mobilizations and some soft tissue ideas are get a foam roller, really work on those heel cords, 2 legs on top, find the tight areas where some of the pain might be, and work your ankle up and down through it, okay? Next, the wall ankle mode. So find a wall, start your foot close up against it, see if you can touch your knee. If you can, without your heel coming up, move it back a few inches and keep going until your heel starts to come up. Once it starts to actually come up, bring it back a little closer to the wall and then work through some ankle rocking into the wall. Okay, that should help free up the ankle a little bit. Next, work on that T-spine, okay? Rather than skipping ahead to shoulder flexion, say your shoulders are really tight, you got to make sure your T-spine's mobile first, because if you have a rounded forward T-spine, it doesn't matter how flexible your shoulders are. You got to fix this first. So work on your T-spine, right? Quick way to see if someone's got a bad T-spine is to see if they're rounded or if they're flat. Ask if they can straighten it out. If they can straighten it out, then you're all good. To work on some T-spine flexibility or T-spine extension, get a foam roller, set yourself up on it, hug yourself, and then work on each and every vertebrae in your T-spine, rocking back and forth, side to side, really try and break up all that nasty tissue, right? Throw the arms overhead a little bit too. Just dig around and find what might work. See if you can get upright a little bit better. And then finally, shoulder flexion, okay? So let's say they've got that barbell and they're really rounded forward, we got their T-spine fixed, but they just can't get their elbows up, so it causes their hands to get real close. You can't generate any torque on the bar to help keep yourself upright, especially when you're in the bottom. You might be okay coming out on the front rack, but once you start to go to the bottom, you're gonna really need to generate some torque to keep those elbows up high so you can stay upright. The more upright your torso is in a front squat, the stronger you're gonna be. So for some shoulder flexion, get a band, trap it around your wrist, around the back of your wrist, and then loop it to where your hand catches it. Step it through your foot and come from behind your back, okay? So it's important to remember not let the elbow flare out, but try and keep the elbow tucked in. What also helps is walking up to a wall, keeping everything nice and straight, and push your elbow into the wall. Okay, what this is going to do is really tie in your tricep, your lats. It's going to get all this at once. Also important to remember to keep the rib cage down. Don't cheat by overextending. Next, get a lacrosse ball. Hit the external rotators as well as your lats. You can do this standing or lying on the ground. So, for example, push the ball up against the shoulder here. Reach across and pull back. Raise the arm overhead. Really get that lat right where the insertion is. And then see if you have freed anything up for that overhead, that shoulder flexion. All right, so originally we showed you a bad front squat, coming down with shoulders roll forward, T-spine flexed. We come down in tight ankles, okay? So now we worked on a couple of things. We worked on that ankle flexibility so we can try and stay upright. You need a little bit of ankle flexion, a little bit more in a front squat than you would a back squat. And then also that shoulder flexion and T-spine extension so we can stay a little more upright and get a nice vertical torso to help bring that front squat back to where it should be.